Back in on First Things First on a Top 10 Tuesday. Every week at this time, I will be updating my top 10 teams. And Coach, you were not here to see my flawless top 10 last week.
Sure it was.
Yeah, Willie Cologne had like a few problems with it. I don't really remember. But there's the perfect top 10 teams. No issues, I assume?
Yeah, well, I have a few issues.
Oh, okay.
I don't have San Francisco going to the playoffs. I don't have the Steelers going to the playoffs, but we'll just focus on San Francisco. I think their biggest issue is how is Brock going to respond to the contract extension? And that is a big problem because guys often try to justify the new money they got and be someone that they're not. So I think that's part of the problem. Can they get over the history of injuries that they've had? It's year in and year out. Now we see it in the receiver room. Hopefully CMC's back, but I just think there's going to be too much for them to overcome. And I'm not buying the Aaron Rodgers working out in Pittsburgh with Arthur Smith.
If he can win with Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, that's the logic I'm taking. I've been wrong on the Steelers so many times. So tune in next Tuesday because I can't change it from last week to this week.
Yep.
No games.
It is what it is.
Nothing happened. So we're going to unveil something that we're going to be doing every 4 weeks here on the OT, which we're going to call Quarterback Quarterly. You get it. We are gonna. It's not now like Mahomes Mountain is not left to right. This is not exactly where they are on the graphic, but the quadrant that they're in absolutely tells the story of where I have these quarterbacks going on. So as we begin our first installment of Quarterback Quarterly, we begin with the I just can't quadrant. So this is Joe Flacco, Bryce Young, Tua, Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, Spencer Rattler, and Russell Wilson. Now, with Bryce specifically, he was the closest guy that I was going to move into the other tier that we'll get to here in a second because he finished last season legitimately impressive. It was 7 touchdowns and no picks in the last 3 games. Panthers offense averaged 31 points per game. They showed a little life at the end of the season.
Yep.
But with his size, some serious questions about just the overall direction of the organization. I don't know if it was a mirage. Teams at the end of the year, some teams are gearing up for the playoffs, other teams are sitting, playing backups.
Vacation.
Yeah, exactly. Like 1, 2, 3 Cancun. Like I don't know if it's real, but I got my eye on Bryce to see if I can bump him up out of the I just can't tier. The next quadrant for Quarterback Quarterly, though, this is the biggest one, and it's there's hope. There's a lot of guys here. Penix, Drake May, Kyler, Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix, Geno Smith, Cam Ward, Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, Caleb Williams, J.J. McCarthy, and Jordan Love. Trevor Lawrence was the guy that I was closest to keeping in the I just can't. Because right now, everything about Trevor Lawrence to me is it's like, well, maybe Travis Hunter will turn it around. Or maybe Liam Cohen will turn it around. The guy just, to put it mildly and to put it nicely, makes dumb decisions. Like I don't know the man, I'm not calling him dumb, but when I watch him play football, like he's 4th in red zone turnovers since he entered the league, and he has the most fumbles since he entered the league. 6'5", rocket arm, looks the part, but he just makes dumb decisions out there, and I don't know if that ever leaves you when it's still there 5 years into your career. Conversely, Jordan Love, yeah, there's a lot of hope, but here's my thing on Jordan Love. He's streaky.
Yes.
He is since becoming a full-time starter, first 9 games, 14 touchdowns, 10 picks. Then the next 9 games, 21 touchdowns against 1 pick. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's the MVP of the league. Next 9 games, 18 touchdowns against 13 picks. Then the next 9 games, 9 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, and then he caps it off with a 3-interception game in the playoffs against Philly. So if he's going to be streaky for forever, I just can't bump him up above the tier that he's in. And now we get to the Chris Broussard trademarked. It's fluid. Like,
what does that necessarily mean? Just for clarification.
I'm glad you asked.
Nobody knows.
No, exactly. It's fluid. I think every fan of every one of these teams likes their quarterback and believes that they can win a Super Bowl with their quarterback and because of their quarterback. But on a given day, on a given month,
it can go left.
And the ranking can be like I say Justin Herbert would be at the top of this. But if you said it was Jaden Daniels and you said it was Matt Stafford,
exactly what I would say.
I'm not really gonna, pound the table.
Right. Because there's enough of a resume there to show they can come out on either the great side or something catastrophic could happen. They can end up on the bad side.
Exactly. So these guys are all legit, good to great quarterbacks who for a stretch of time can carry their team. And I'll just say one thing about Jared Goff, because I think sometimes people overlook him in these conversations. Over the last 3 years, first in passing yards, first in passing touchdowns, third in rating, fourth in completion percentage, fourth in yards per attempt. Like, he is closer to the upper echelon than I think a lot of people give him credit for. So I wanted to just highlight my guy, Jared Goff. It is related that I've picked them to be in the Super Bowl now 3 years in a row. And then the last installment of Quarterback Quarterly, there is really no debate here. This is just the class of the NFL. We can all debate the order. Obviously, Mahomes would be one. For me, it would go Allen, Burrow, Lamar. But if you wanted to say it's Lamar, Burrow, Allen, I have no problem with it. These are the minted guys who, I know you've got your issue with Burrow, but these are the guys that everyone kind of agrees, oh yeah, if they won the MVP or they won a Super Bowl, I wouldn't be shocked. So that concludes our first edition of Quarterback Quarterly. We will do it again in 4 weeks because I assume, Willie, there were no problems there.
No, there's a lot of problems.
Okay.
The biggest glaring problem to me is, why isn't Jalen Hurts in the class of the NFL? We're talking about a guy who just won a Super Bowl. It is criminal and it is obnoxious that we put this man in the B category when, for Christ's sakes, if you look at his total body of work, I mean, in the regular season, 18 touchdowns, right? You talk about rushing for over 600 yards. You talk about having 14 rushing touchdowns. If you want to go to the playoffs, I mean, his completion rate was 71%. In the Super Bowl where he won MVP, he had a 77% completion rate. And by the way, the Chiefs dared him to be great, and he said, give me that. I'll take care of that.
He was great in the Super Bowl.
And he was great, not in just the first Super Bowl, and it's both Super Bowls. So for me, when I sit here, man, like, what does the man have to do to prove that he's amongst the elite? And for some reason, it's all about, well, he had a really good offensive line. He had a really good running back. So let's all poo-poo his effort. It was just like, let's not forget, when he was called upon to be great, he was great. He beat, on a lot of people's list, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. Every time Jalen Hurts played Patrick Mahomes, what did he do?
Well, he beat him once and he lost to him once.
Right, but from a performance standpoint, what did we do? Walk the dog on him.
He played very well in both games. The fumble in the first one was a pretty big play. Hey, listen, be in the top 20 in pass attempts? Is that too much to ask for a Tier 1 quarterback? He was 22nd in the league in pass attempts. They don't ask him to throw the ball.
But that's not his fault.
But there's a reason.
He's putting his team first. If the strength of your team is running the ball, you run the ball. It's not about my stats. Of course he wants to throw the ball. Of course he wants to show up each and every day. Go back to the Pittsburgh game where he was called out before that game, and it was a response to like, well, we don't throw the ball enough and we're stagnant. He said, okay, what did he do? He threw the ball and lit the Steelers up. So it's not that he can't throw the ball. He's doing what's best for the team.
All right, Coach, any nits to pick?
Look, I've got a lot, but I'm going to just start with the one, and it seems like you and Nick have it out for this guy. And I'm not saying I'm his biggest cheerleader by any stretch.
You're right,
but
Coach.
But I don't know why you have Tua in the I just can't category. And here's my feeling on this. It wasn't too long ago that people were discussing him to be the MVP of the league. Like, he was in that conversation, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it. But now you've got Sam Darnold in the tier that's above him, and he's had 1 year of serious production. So if you look at these two guys head to head over the course of their career, there really isn't any comparison. He's better in completion percentage, pass yards per attempt, yards per game. Look at the TD to interception ratio.
Well, I don't know how you can see that.
And the passer rating. What's that?
I can see it. LASIK. Best decision I ever made. But the thing at the bottom there, though, of your graphic, 83 games played for Darnold, 64 for Tua. Tua has played a full season once. When I say I just can't, it's like, I just can't get there with trusting a guy I don't believe is going to survive full seasons in the NFL.
You could say that about Christian McCaffrey. There are a bunch of seasons that he missed. I wouldn't put Christian McCaffrey in the I just can't as a player. There are some guys that unfortunately have more of an injury history. And the Dolphins making the decision that they made to pay him what they paid with the concussions. Look, I don't think I would have done that organizationally. I don't think I would have done that if I were the head coach. But when he plays, he's played pretty well for him, and he's obviously played as well as Sam Darnold. And it's hard for me to imagine that anybody says he hasn't played better than Sam Darnold over the course of the
No,
game
in terms of what he has accomplished, listen, obviously he's accomplished more than Michael Penix, who I had in the There's Hope category, and Penix has played 3 games. But the ability for me to trust, if I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm going to have this guy, and he's going to be there for 17 games, and then I'm going to leave Miami and I'm going to go to Kansas City or Buffalo or Baltimore or Cincinnati or Pittsburgh and win a couple of games in the cold when he hasn't shown that either. It's like 2 things. It's the availability for Tua, and then it's the late season performance for Tua that I just can't get there with.
And we forget that he thrived the most when they had a legit run game. I mean, we got to understand that I think 2003, they led the league in rushing with Mostert and company and A-Chain, 23. So when they were cooking in that department, he was extremely efficient because he was on stride and in rhythm with letting the ball out of his hands. Somehow, with the loss of Ron Hunt and that offensive line kind of weakened, they've taken a step back. So I'm with you 100%. I love Tua, but it's the injuries that scare me as far as putting him on the next echelon.
Yeah, I don't think you give him the money that you gave him, but they did, and obviously their doctors and their organization believes in him enough to think that he can get through the 17 games in the playoffs. I think you got to give him a little bit more love than you're showing him.
All right, well, we'll be updating this again after week 4 of the NFL season. We'll do it. It's called Quarterback Quarterly.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.